their electrical needs in the city. They went into the lighting and air conditioning systems, and since 2008, they've reduced their energy footprint by 38%. That has made an annual savings of $388,000 a year by turning off lights, keeping air conditioning on when people are only in the facility, etc. From the city of Sanibel, we have the mayor, Kevin Wayne. And we also have Councilman, I believe, Jim Jennings, Chauncey Goss, and I saw Vice Mayor Denham also out here. The city of Sanibel was a key, it exists today because when they planned that city, they thought of sustainability all the way. Quality of life, environment, and it is a gemstone for our region. In the city of Bonita Springs, we have Mayor Ben Nelson. They're currently preparing an application to the Florida Green Building Coalition to become a certified green local government. We have the town of Fort Myers Beach today, Mayor Saracita. And the village of Estero, Mayor Nick Becos. Appreciate you coming, and we learned a lot of valuable things today. Thank you. All right, now I'd like to welcome Mayor Henderson and turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to beautiful downtown Fort Myers in the River District. I always feel really, frankly, humbled when our venue here in downtown is selected and to bring distinguished citizens and elected officials together here. And I just feel lucky as mayor to be able to host you this morning, to welcome you to a high-quality environment, an environment that's going to continue to grow in terms of its quality. It's a very dynamic process and a dynamic situation, and it has taken a long, long time to see this kind of substantial movement. I'm going to share a few remarks about that momentarily. Matt, I want to thank you, Matt Johnson, for organizing things this morning here at Harborside. As usual, you and your very competent staff do a great job. I'd like to give them a warm round of applause. I want to make just a few quick remarks. I'm not the host speaker this morning, but I was asked to just share a few things that might give you a little bit of insight into what the council and myself, together with senior leadership in the city, have been working on over the past decade and beyond. We do have, I believe, a very solid and forthright energy policy in the city. It is a moving target. It's something that's constantly changing. We're always looking and reaching out to experts in the disciplines that inspire a better city to know and understand what modern day best practices are. Some examples of what Fort Myers has installed in the way of global sustainability measures over the last decade include multiple filter marshes across the city of Fort Myers, in a city that's 133 years of age and has had a substantial shall we say, delay in modernizing its infrastructure, which, by the way, is not a very glamorous experience. And the mayors in the room and the council members in the room know what I'm talking about. What we want to do is build parks and things that beautify and inspire, not what's under the ground and delivers you-know-what to that place. They're not very fun things to do, but we do know that modern infrastructure promotes a higher quality of life and a more responsible management of waste and making sure that our waterways remain clean. Fort Myers has done a lot to build multiple filter marshes, and we have many more to build. The City of Fort Myers has implemented solar energy panels. We've done it in a measured way. We're trying to show the benefits of doing that. Fort Myers has adopted and subscribed to trucks and heavy equipment that's operated with natural gas, with ways of generating energy that prevent the pollution of our ozone layers, and we're moving forward in that way, and we've been doing it for years. I credit Saeed Qasimi, one of the great leaders in our Public Works Department in Fort Myers, for his insight and his measured approach to doing that. Coming off the Great Recession and during the Great Recession, many of you know the difficulties associated with trying to implement these policies without the cash resources to do it. It's not been easy, but we have made progress. One of the biggest examples of that progress is the water basin just next door to us over here, which was complex, sophisticated, expensive, about $5.4 million. Modern day designers and engineers said this would be the way to deliver your city's infrastructure for the future. And let me just make a few remarks about the benefits of that. City of Fort Myers has expended about, in the past 8-9 years, roughly $60 million in public money to improve and modernize this infrastructure just in the core of the city, and we're doing that across the city. From the River District perspective, that $60 million has generated in tangible ways $550 million of private sector invested, with $200 million yet to come in the next 24 months, and another $300 to $350 million to be inspired over the next 60 months, which will push us over $1 billion on $60 million of public spending. That's the kind of return on investment and quality of life that is possible when you garner the advice and the support and the design expertise from those professionals who know what modern day best practices are. And I thank them all. I don't have time this morning to go and list all the professionals that have helped us with our policy over the years. I believe that there's more to do in the way of energy and sustainability in Fort Myers, and I'm happy to announce to you that our council is focused on it. Senior management in the city of Fort Myers is focused on it, and I respect them for that. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take just a moment before, and you're going to hear a lot more about sustainability and best practices. One of the things I'm excited about in the next few days is I'm going to be entertaining guests from the Mayor's Institute of Design from Pittsburgh. We're coming into our city to help us do an inventory of some challenging areas where we want to modernize and expand and continue down that road. Now we'll rendezvous with them back in Pittsburgh in about 2 weeks to sit on a panel of mayors across America to examine Fort Myers and how we can do better. Mayor Zawicki's done it. Where's Mayor Zawicki? I know Marnie's here. She's done it, and it's helping Cape Coral. And it's always a process. You don't just go and come back and boom, it's done. It takes years to get these things going. I'm really looking forward to that next opportunity for modernization. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go through these lists really quickly and just hold your applause to the end, and then let's give one big bang. But these opportunities before us this morning, the food, the organizing of this, Mimi Chan's going to be up here a little later. These things don't happen without people pouring themselves into this. And Mimi reached out to me, I don't know how many weeks or months ago, and said, Randy, I hope you can attend the Global Sustainability Summit. And I said, Mimi, I'll be there. Don't worry about that. And I know my colleagues will join me, elected officials. I want to thank the News Press Media Group, Harborside Event Center, Florida Power and Light, M&M Multimedia, Enterprise Holdings, Goodwill Industries of Southwest Florida, Leasar, my friend Bob Simpson over there, Insight, John and his crew, U.S. Green Building Council, Florida Gulf Coast Chapter, Surge Spa Luxury. Everybody needs a spa visit. I need one this morning. Anybody need a massage this morning? And Brilliant Lens. Ladies and gentlemen, these things don't happen without those people who give us the cash to do it. Let's give them a big round of applause. I'll leave you with this thought. We're going to continue on the road of modernization of our city. We're 70,000 citizens strong. We're focused on urban infill and getting the rest of our city looking like downtown does, and we're making progress. I thank you sincerely for your attendance this morning, for what you mean to our community, for helping the elected officials, all of us here, to understand what your desires are for a modern and high quality of life. And I'm confident that this region, my colleagues sitting right here at this table, Nick, Ben, Kevin, obviously Matt, John, Nick, thank you, other elected officials and council persons, Marvin Collins, my assistant city manager. I could go on and on. Dr. Cole, all of you. Without your wrapping your arms around and pursuing this together in unity, it's hard to get this done. And in particular, the mayors are united in this effort. And I thank them. I thank them because we can set aside silliness of politics sometimes and focus on what's important. Thank you. Good morning to you all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Randy Henderson, Mayor of Fort Myers, to whom we're donating lots of parking money this morning. And Randy's closing.
I take back everything I said about me.
Randy's closing comments are indeed why we're here. It takes a village. It takes all of us. And we want to thank you this morning for joining us at this inaugural summit on sustainability. You're here because you care about quality of life in Southwest Florida. It's as simple as that. You care about what you enjoy today and how you enjoy the future, how we will preserve it for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, how we will make this a community that draws the best from around the world because we want to be globally competitive. That's why we're here this morning. We've got a very robust agenda for you. My role this morning is to help set the stage and then to help connect the dots as we go forward throughout the morning. So, you know, on a very high level, you talk about sustainability. We're talking about global warming, warming and warning. Things that happen around the world that touch some of us more than others. From a personal level, some of us, how many of you have been to Hanauma Bay in Hawaii for snorkeling or scuba diving? We do that quite a bit in Seattle. Over just 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you can see the degradation in the reefs in Hanauma Bay. How many of you have been to Glacier National Park in Montana? Okay, we went about 5 years ago, and there are hardly any glaciers left. That's a changing world on a very high level picture. But when it comes to quality of life, it's not just what looks good, right? But it impacts the whole ecosystem. Whether it's the very large waterways or the low sea waves that we have, and what it means to be able to attract world-class talent, as I said before. And the news press has certainly taken a leadership role in this because we think it's so important that we work together, just as this morning we're working together, to decide and design our future together. Because we have more and more folks who are joining us, more and more of them are millennials, younger folks. And younger folks are looking for confirmation, affirmation that the quality of life will be preserved, that we understand and care about urban centers, about ease of getting to and from workplaces, about the ability to have complete streets that design around walking, biking, travel, business, all of it together in one place. When we talk about people, business, and the environment, and how they balance, in our area there are big issues that often make the front pages and have for decades, right? And we're talking about Everglades restoration, quality of our water and beaches, and certainly that's one that we've taken a huge stance on lately. Land preservation, how to manage growth. Growth is coming. There's also the smaller daily examples of sustainability for each of us. Think about it. Taking the effort to recycle. Sorting that trash stuff from that non-trash stuff and that food stuff from those bottles. Using reusable bags versus plastic bags, right? What kind of chemicals you're going to use on your lawns and your pools and on golf courses. Leaving no trace after we've enjoyed paradise. Taking it all with us. And my friend and one of our top reporters who covers the environment, Kevin Lawler, is here, and he gave the example of saying, You know, when you're fishing, often the fishing line gets caught or narrowed and you might cut it and just leave it. When you do that, it threatens, injures, and kills hundreds and thousands of aquatic birds, mammals, sea turtles, and the like. We don't think about that necessarily, so taking it all with us. And the hardest part about figuring out what to do is gaining consensus, finding a common vision, and then agreeing on the steps to move forward together. Because we all have a different lens. We all have a different position, and we have to move from our positions. When I worked in Idaho Falls, Idaho, as the executive editor, we had similar water concerns there. You might be familiar with that region, high desert. The Snake River ran throughout the state. And the competing demands from farmers, electrical companies, Native Americans, environmentalists, businesses, residents, politicians, were just like the ones that we argue about here in Southwest Florida. And we embarked on a unique journey to bring them together, literally. We took a rafting trip together, pulling representatives from each group, so that we were on a common ground, literally, in order to find a common way forward. At the end of the day, it is about integrated planning, isn't it, to preserve our future and build our paradise for future generations. In fact, integrated planning is a top priority for Bike, Walk, Lead, which is a wonderful organization that we've really helped highlight with our bike safety coverage, and they've highlighted with many of you in this room. Their vision is that innovative and integrated land use and transportation planning can enhance our county's livability and help encourage new development and redevelopment. Last week, the Department of Transportation hosted more than 75 officials and agencies to discuss not infrastructure, not politics, not funding, but the importance of connectivity. How well do our transportation systems help people get to where they want to go? It's as simple as that. And what does that look like for Southwest Florida? That's why we're here today and this morning. We want to thank you again for joining us at the summit presented by Matt Visaggio, who's in the back of the room, in partnership with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the Southwest Florida Community Foundation. Matt, some of you know, is the mastermind behind this, and he's a proud new dad, and he gives remarks at the end to Hallie, his wife. So let's give him a big round of applause. And we've got a full day of intriguing content with 4 main sessions. Our 3 panels will tackle the big questions of what is our vision for Southwest Florida? How do we grow? We're going to grow. So how do we grow? And how will we work together to make that happen? During lunch, Southwest Florida Community Foundation Sarah Owen will talk about the transfer of the sustainability plan from the Lee County government to the Community Foundation, working in collaboration, of course. She'll be joined by Lee County Manager Roger DeGerlay. And she'll have a special announcement as well, I understand. My role, as I said, is to help keep the thread going, also to help us understand the language in the room. We want to avoid buzzwords. We want to avoid complex scientific terms that most of us, at least me, do not understand. I thought Randy's description of, that stuff that goes underground and then makes a left turn and does that thing, that was a really good description that I understood. So I will be reminding you all of that. I also want to remind you that we have an inaugural People's Choice Award for Sustainability Artwork that is going on, and voting is going on and closes at 3. We have some fantastic vendors here with us today, and I noticed I was jealous because Kathleen Morgan got to go shopping. We showed off this terrific inspired flower made of reusables. And then we have on your desk a sheet from Enterprise as one of the sponsors. So if you have questions during the day, please write it down and then hand it over to one of the volunteers who will be wandering around. So that's how we'll be collecting questions for the day. So let's get started. Our first moderator for our first panel is Dr. Ron Toll, Provost and VP for Academic Affairs at FGCU. He has an impressive record, as most of you know, with faculty and leadership roles at a variety of institutions. Ron, you have to make your way up here with your panel? Where are you? Okay, you're starting to move. Including Department Chair of Biology and Division Chair of Natural Sciences at Wesleyan College, and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Lebanon Valley College in Pennsylvania. Some of us, though, have had the privilege of enjoying conversations with him about one of his passions, like being a car nut, a black belt in Taekwondo, and most importantly, being a marine biologist. Dr. Toll received his doctorate degree in biological oceanography from the Rosenstein School of Marine and Atmospheric Science of the University of Miami. English is my second language. He's published over 35 peer-reviewed papers and monograph contributions in the area of marine invertebrates. And his work has taken him from the Mary Islands of Georgia to Central America, where he was involved in an expedition that led to the successful recovery of nearly 300 million in gold coins and bars from the depth of 8,000 feet. And we would love to hear more of that story at some future point. Please welcome Dr. Toll and his panel.
Thank you, Mimi. I think you walked off with the microphone.
You said that was mine. Mine is key. This must be a roving one. All right. Can I get a little help up here because I put it on mute and I can't find it.
Until then, good morning. Thank you. This is the, how many PhDs does it take to put the microphone back in the holder? Thank you, Mimi, very much. For those of us who've had the privilege to work with you on many campaigns for the public good, we know how you throw yourself into these projects and do a tremendous amount of research, and it's quite clear that you have done that again. So by the power invested in me and the Board of Trustees of Florida Gulf Coast University, I want to award to you the honorary degree of Environmental Policy and Science, honoris causa. Congratulations. It's my pleasure to, yes, thank you so much. It is certainly my pleasure to be here and represent Florida Gulf Coast University. Among other things, those being that we are your regional public comprehensive university. We are the environmental university for the state of Florida. And in many ways, we are the environmental university for the nation. We regularly see the environmental and sustainable practices that we hear about, read about, we'll be talking about today, put into practice at FGCU every day. For a while, till the other schools in the United States caught up with your regional university, we had the largest solar farm on any college or university campus in the United States, generating over 2 megawatts of power. That provides the power for our 3 largest academic buildings. We're very, very proud of that. Mimi, I appreciate you attempting to read some of the verbiage related to my background. I'm going to put that into the kind of terminology that Mayor Henderson used. I'm a squid slicer. Doctorally trained squid slicer. It's an amazing thing. So what I want to do today with this great panel is begin our adventure into what does sustainability mean to us and the entire aspect of sustainability, this wonderful opportunity that brings so many great people together with so many views and a chance to learn from one another. I'm going to give a very abbreviated bio of each of our panelists. We're going to save time to put into the meat of the issue in terms of their responses to some questions that I will pose to them. And then we're going to try to save 15 minutes at the end of this panel for what is also very important, and that is the opportunity to take questions from each of you. So we'll begin just moving down the row here. First, immediately to my right, Rayanne Wessel is a linologist. Now that means she deals with freshwater things. And a marine scientist with over 30 years of experience working in the environmental field in South Florida. She currently serves as the Natural Resource Policy Director for SCCF, the SWFL Captiva Conservation Foundation. Then immediately down the row, we have Christine Ross. In addition to serving as President and Chief Executive Officer of the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce, Christine is a visionary coalition builder furthering the goals of regional sustainable development for the long-term improvement of Southwest Florida's economy. And continuing along, Tracy Lanham, is the Policy Chair of the Computer Information Technology Programs Department in the Fisher School of Technology at Hodges University, and she is currently in the dissertation phase of a PhD program at North Central University. So we refer to that as proto-doctor. And continuing along, also from Florida Gulf Coast University, Dr. Laura Frost. Laura is Director of the Whitaker Center for STEM. STEM is Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Center. At Florida Gulf Coast University, the Whitaker Center serves as the regional hub for expertise and leadership in STEM education reform. Continuing along, we have Dr. Stephen Brody. Dr. Brody is Director of Molecular Genetics and Cytogenetics at NeoGenomics Laboratories in Fort Myers. Prior to joining NeoGenomics in 2011, Dr. Brody served as Senior Director of Cytogenetics, Assistant Director of Molecular Genetics, and Scientific Director of Maternal Serum Screening at Specialty Laboratories Quest Diagnostics in Valencia, California. And finally, the Honorable Larry Kiker, member of our Lee County Commission. He has served as Vice Chairman before he was elected to the Board of the County Commissioners. He served as Vice Chairman and Chairman, as well as for the Port Authority. The last 2 years, he chaired the Tourist Development Council and has been the liaison for Lee County mayors. He now serves on the Horizon Council and is chair of WCIND. So we have a very, very distinguished panel here representing higher ed, business, research, local government, and policymakers. So we're going to jump right into the questioning. In speaking to the panelists prior to the day and this morning, we decided to adopt the modality of not every panelist feeling obligated to respond to each and every question, because sometimes that can get to be a little bit redundant. So I'm going to do this as kind of the toss-up round here, and we're also hoping that the panelists will essentially intellectually feed off one another in terms of their responses to these questions. So the first question has to do with the definition of sustainability. We heard the Webster definition earlier. Of course, on a university campus, Webster has become Wikipedia, for better and sometimes for worse. But I'd like to ask each of the panelists, how does your organization define sustainability in this day, in this place, at this time? So let me toss that out.
I'll jump in.
Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you very much. When I had a chance to talk to a couple of staff folks in Lee County before today, and one of the things, and I'll reference back to what Mimi said about not using buzzwords, we were trying to figure out what kind of catchphrases that we've had to use over the years. Things like regionalism, what does that mean? Sustainability, what does that mean? Shifting paradigm, everybody know that one? The three-legged stool. By the way, Roger Gugere is going to be up here, and he's never got to use that analogy before. He wants to do that. Be sure to ask him about it. But really, when we got down to sustainability, what we decided as a group is it's something that you do every day. And began that with a thing called quality of life and that's a good place to start. In government, the next level is that we are responsible for the health, safety, and welfare based upon that quality of life. And through that, we produce regulations through a thing that we call comprehensive plan. And that's where we design the rules on how to accomplish that. And strangely enough, it gets down to 3 different main issues, one of them being social, one of them being environment, and one of them being economic. And when I talk about social, I'm talking about the jobs, the health care, education, those aspects. Under environment, conservation of property, water quality, waste management, and the sheriff and law enforcement. And then under economic, I think it's been touched on already this morning, infrastructure. We also worry about the diversity of the employment base, and that becomes essential. And as that small business growth, as an example, is responsible for 85% of all job creation. So really what this gets down to in terms of government is regulations, and then you have to ask yourself, are regulations good or are they bad? And they can be bad, and if one of them becomes dominant, it's all about balance. It's all about achieving that all 3 of those aspects, economic, environment, and social, all meet the same level of attention.
So I'll jump in from a conservation perspective. So a little bit more fundamental, perhaps, in its description. I'd say that sustainability is gearing and modulating our human footprint to the resources available on the planet. And by that, I'm including the natural environment, the built environment, and the economic environment, but not using the word balance as much, only because balance often becomes a mathematical equation where 1 equals 1. And one human footprint does not necessarily always convert to 1 natural increment. And so it's modulating because things change over time. The climate changes, the drought changes, the weather changes, the temperature changes. So it modulates, so it's a moving target, something that we have to live and grow with. We have to continually re-examine. We have the opportunity to use technologies to maybe modify that footprint and adapt that footprint, but at its most fundamental, if we think of the planet as a production operation, and we depend on what products it's producing, we have to live within that scale, and that's the challenge. And like I said, it's a dynamic challenge and it's moving through time. So with 7 billion people, it's a much different footprint than it was when the first people crawled out of the sea or wherever they came from.